Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into an empire built not from stone, but from earth. We're about to explore one of the most incredible feats of pre-industrial engineering anywhere on the planet.
Yeah, we're talking about the Maori pa, and you gotta forget what you think of when you hear the word fort. These weren't just simple stockades. These were sprawling, complex settlements that literally reshaped the landscape, all built with an absolutely astonishing level of strategic and engineering skill, centuries before Europeans even knew New Zealand existed.
So, to really get our heads around the pa, we have to look way past our modern idea of just a military base. It was so much more than that.
Right, so here's your textbook definition: a fortified village. Sounds simple enough? But honestly, that description barely scratches the surface of what these structures truly were and what they meant. Just let that number sink in for a second. Over 5,000 of these earthwork fortresses have been found, and that's mostly just on New Zealand's North Island. This tells you right away the pa wasn't some rare thing. It was a fundamental, absolutely central part of Māori society.
And this is where we see why. A pa was way more than just walls and ditches. It was a powerful, visible symbol of a tribe's mana. That's their prestige, their authority, their power. It was built to protect the most important thing of all: food, especially the precious kumara, or sweet potato, which they stored in these special underground pits called rua. The pa was the very heartbeat of the iwi, the tribe. It was community, safety, and survival, all rolled into one.
So how did they work? Let's break down the anatomy of a classic pa, because this is where the sheer engineering genius really shines.
Okay, just picture yourself trying to attack one of these things. It would have been an absolute nightmare. First, you've got to get past this massive outer fence, the tuata wada. If you somehow manage that, you're immediately tumbling into deep trenches, probably with defenders raining spears down on you. Then, you've got to scramble up these steep man-made terraces, again while being attacked from above. And let's say you miraculously make it to the top. Well, you find the inner stronghold, and they've just pulled up their ladders, leaving you totally exposed. It was a death trap by design.
This just shows you how strategic the thinking was. Pa were almost always built on the high ground. Extinct volcanoes, coastal cliffs, they turned the landscape itself into a weapon. They had watchtowers, the taumaihi, for early warnings and as perfect spots to hurl down rocks and spears. Every single piece of it, right down to the twisting, narrow entrances, was designed to make an attack a bloody, costly failure. But you know, even the most ingenious fortress has a weakness. And that weakness isn't always in the walls. Sometimes the biggest threat comes from the inside.
Okay, so let's look at the pa of Turuturu Mokai. Now, this one wasn't on a steep hill, so its builders just compensated with pure engineering muscle. We're talking 3 concentric rings of deep trenches and huge wooden walls. This place was considered a masterpiece, basically impregnable. And yet, it fell. Not from a massive assault, but from a brilliant and, frankly, brutal plan. See, during a time of peace, a rival chief sent a master tattoo artist to the pa as a gift. He offered to give the warriors these prestigious tattoos, but on their thighs and buttocks. Now, this process was agonizingly painful, and it left the pa's best fighters completely unable to move or fight for days. With the defenders helpless, the rival tribe just walked in and took the fortress.
The name of the pa itself is a really grim final detail. Turuturu Mokai refers to the stakes where they used to mount the heads of defeated enemies as a warning. After this betrayal, you can bet the heads of its own defenders were displayed on those very same stakes. It's just a chilling reminder of how brutal this period could be.
So, the classic pa was an absolute masterclass in defense for its time, but a new weapon was about to show up that would change the rules of war forever and force a radical, incredible evolution in fortress design.
Muskets and cannons, they changed everything. All of a sudden, being on a high, visible hill wasn't an advantage, it was a bullseye. Those tall wooden walls that could stop spears, they were just turned into splinters by cannonballs. The classic pa had become a death trap almost overnight.
But in response, Māori engineers didn't just adapt, they completely reinvented the game. They abandoned the high ground for low-profile, hidden positions. The whole philosophy flicked from height and visibility to camouflage and absorbing impact. And this gave birth to a whole new kind of fortress, the gunfighter pa.
And the innovations were just genius. They dug trenches in zigzags so a single shot couldn't sweep down the whole line. They built outer fences padded with green flax that acted almost like a natural Kevlar, literally absorbing musket balls. Defenders now fought from deep inside trenches, firing from ground-level loopholes, totally protected. They even dug underground bunkers to survive artillery bombardments. In fact, these designs were so incredibly effective, the British military engineers were stunned. They actually made models of the PA to send back to London to be studied.
So what's the legacy of all this incredible history? Well, you can still see it today. It's etched into the land itself, if you just know where to look.
From the volcanic cones that dot the city of Auckland to coastal headlands all over the country, the Earth itself holds the memory of these places. You can still see those terraced outlines, a physical record of Māori history carved right into the land, silent monuments to centuries of incredible ingenuity and survival.
And that's really the question these silent earthworks leave us with, isn't it? The story of the PA, from that classic hill fort to the revolutionary gunfighter fortress, is just an incredible lesson in human resilience. It shows how creativity and adaptation are the ultimate tools for survival, especially when you are faced with massive, overwhelming change.